Alright, now let's talk about taxable wages. What can you have be taxed on? Okay, so you're going to start with your gross pay. That's your pay calculated based on how much you make salary or how many hours you've worked. That's your gross pay, means before any tax has been taken out. We subtract the allowance amount. So remember those allowances we talked about in the previous video. Those allowances are things that we can take out of our income so that we don't have to pay taxes on. They're trying to give us a break there. And if we subtract those two, then we get the taxable wages, the wages that taxes can actually be taken out of. So here's Mitch Watt. He claims 4 allowances. He earns $587.94 gross pay each week. If each allowance is $63.46, what is his taxable income? Okay, so we want to find this taxable income, which means we have to take the gross pay. His gross pay was $587.94, and we have to subtract the allowances. Now, we have to do a little work here because he had 4 allowances. Each of them was $63.46. So the first thing we're going to do is find out how much his allowances were total. So we're going to take this $63.46 and we're going to multiply that by 4. We get $253.84. Okay, so that is his allowances that are going to be taken out. So then we go back up here and we subtract from his gross pay the $253.84, and we will have our taxable wages. They come out to $334.10. Alright, here we have Patrice. Patrice, we're going to do the same type of thing, but this is kind of on a graduated table as far as what is taken out. Okay, here's the table down here at the bottom. It says Patrice Matson works for a company that uses a percentage method to compute income tax. Patrice is single, claims 2 allowances. Each allowance is $48.50. Okay, $48.50. Find the amount of income tax withheld. Well, first we have to find out what is her taxable wage. What can she actually be taxed on? So we have to take her earnings of $385 and we have to subtract her allowance amount. She had 2 allowances of $48.50 each. So let's first figure out what were her allowances. So we're going to take the $48.50 times 2. We get $97 is going to be, she will not have to pay taxes on that amount. So again, you take her gross pay $385 minus that $97, and we find she's taxed on $288. Okay? Now we go down to the table to find out how much tax she has to pay. She's paying, her wages that she's paying with is $288. So where does that fall on the table? Well, it's over 195, but it's not over 645. It's between those two. So this is the rule we're going to use. It says she pays $14.40 plus 15% of the excess over 195. So she's going to pay $14.40 plus 15%. Move the decimal 2 places to the left to change that percent to a decimal. And here we need to put the excess over $195. We had $288. So how much more is that than $195? Well, just subtract and you'll find out. Looks like $93. Okay, now we can figure out what her income tax will be. It's $14.40 plus 15% of 93. So take the 0.15 times 93. you get $13.95. We add that to our 14.40, and we get $28.35. Okay, so for this one, we had to first find out what she was taxable on. So we had to subtract her allowances. Okay, we found she was taxed on 288 of her dollars. Then we come over here in the table, she's charged $14.40 plus 15% of everything over 195. So we found out how much we had over 195, plugged it in here, and we found our solution. Alright, here's one more example like that. Let's take a look at Cheryl Jones. She works for that same type of company that you pay a percentage. Cheryl is single. She claims 2 allowances. The weekly withholding for each allowance is $72.31, and she makes $460 a week. Find the amount of income tax withheld. So first and foremost, we need to know what can she be taxed on. Well, her pay is $460 a week, her gross pay. We need to subtract her allowances from that. She had 2 allowances of $72.31. $144.62. That can be taken out so that she doesn't have to be taxed on it. That's what our allowance means. Okay, so now we have taxable wages of $315.38, and we can go to the table. Where does $315 fall on the table? Well, once again, it's between 195 and 645. So this is how her taxes will be taken out. She'll pay $14.40 plus 15% of the excess over 195. So 14.40 plus 0.15 times however much she was over 195. So we go back to her taxable wages and we subtract the $315.38 minus 195. And we get $120.38. Multiply that by the 0.15, we get $18.06. We add that to our $14.40, and we are going to be in business here. We add that and we get $32.46. So finally we have our answer. She will pay $32.46. She'll have that withheld from her check for income tax.